Hey, what's up? This is the Vivo X80 and welcome to the dedicated camera review of this camera-centric smartphone. Let's do it. Before we start our video, let's give a quick shout out to our today's sponsor, Mars2. Mars2 is a group of smartphone shops located at the third floor of Satarakan complex in Kumilla. No matter which smartphone you need, they have all of the brands covered. You can buy your desired smartphone from them at a fair price. Details about them are in the description below. So there are 3 cameras from the best of 3 worlds. So we can also see Zeiss there, T-star coating. This is going to be a very interesting one. So let's start with the camera features and what are in the camera app. Let's take a look. So the first thing you'll get with the camera app itself is quite regular. You got your standard ultra wide and telephotos, and one thing you'll notice that you can easily switch between lenses smoothly, which doesn't occur with most of the Android phones out there. Now you can shoot video with the ultra wide lens, only the standard and the telephoto lens will be used. That's kind of bummer. Now you have the pro mode where you have all kinds of manual controls you might be wanting to take your pictures, but there is no pro video mode. You'll find a supermoon mode, which is actually kind of a useful feature. Like normally you can go up to 20x, but with supermoon mode you can go up to 30x, which kind of handy for long telephoto shots, especially if you're taking photos of the moon. You will find some gimmicky features like this, the double exposure. You can get some different styles on the exposure you want to put in there, and you can also select photos from your phone gallery also, so that's kind of handy. There's a lot of other options. You can get into the dual video mode, which basically turns on the selfie camera and the standard main camera, and you can record videos from both of the cameras like this. You can also split the screen between these two, and like in video call fashion you can do that also as well. Now the most beloved feature of this camera system is the Zeiss 2 color feature, and when you enable this thing actually drops down the saturation of the image, and which produces a totally natural tone, but that's not available in the selfie camera, as you can see. Now there are some other settings of the camera feature. You can see the labeling, etc. stuff. Now in video you can shoot 4K videos up to 60 fps. You can have the toggle there, and the stabilization does work while you are recording 4K 60, so that's a good thing. Now in kind of video stabilization you have the standard, off, active, and the horizon leveling. You can see the horizon leveling out there, and this thing actually locks the horizon. This thing is ridiculous, and no matter which angle you turn your phone, the image remains at the level of the horizon. You can see me turning the camera in 360, but it's still there. The standard image stabilization does a good job. That might be enough, but if you want more stabilization you can obviously switch for the ultra stabilization, which just crops in a bit, but you can do it without a gimbal. Now in terms of night mode, there is various styles for the night mode, like what kind of image you want to take. Now it's a pretty overcasted day, and obviously the long exposure night shots are not meant for that. So now in terms of autofocus, the object tracking or the subject tracking works pretty well, as you can see. In terms of bokeh, you can select how much the intensity of the blur would be, and you can also choose between different styles of bokeh. There's a lot of options out there, and that's kind of appreciable. Now one thing while you are shooting in portrait mode, it's that it automatically switches to the 2x mode, and as you know that the telephoto camera has much more compression, which helps in producing better bokeh. But I got some issues with the bokeh mode in this thing, and I'll be talking about it later. You have also a 50 megapixel mode where it actually produces a sharper image which has much more details in it, and it's been seen in the image sample that it actually captures a lot of details. There's obviously very impressive camera features, but I would like to see the Pro Video mode, which is actually manual controls in video recording, which I am using right now on my Samsung device. That would be really very welcomed because no other company does that except Samsung. However, the image samples coming out of this phone is really very amazing. I'm really very impressed at this. This is a true flagship-like experience with the camera. Let's take a look at some image samples and video samples out of this phone. Now the image samples coming out from the main camera of this Vivo X80 looks really amazing. I'm really impressed by the images that are coming out of this main camera. Anybody would like this images coming out of the main camera itself, but obviously you have the Zeiss true color mode for all of the lenses, which actually desaturates the image, which kind of looks pale, but that's actually the natural color. And now this is where the pro words comes in. Like professionals will rather like the natural color out of this, and when you have the capability of shooting raw photos, that's a bonus feature for anyone who wants the professional flexibility coming out of these images. Now the photos coming out of the ultra wide cameras is also good. There is a slight color shifting from the main sensor, but that's not something major, and as you have the Zeiss true color all of the lenses, you can actually color match all the shots. Now the zoomed in shots also looks great. There is plenty of details out of this, and even when you actually zoom in to the maximum, you can still get some decent usable photos kinda, but obviously you have to be in proper lighting for that. Now the portrait mode shots coming out of this thing is really good. The bokeh quality is good, and you have the cinematic ratio for portrait mode shots also, but there is some issues going on with the portrait mode shots in terms of edge detection. Like in this image you can see my younger brother, the lighting is quite tricky and the background was quite tricky, but you can see in the edges that it could not detect the foreground and background and kept some background elements in focus. Now this thing is more frequent, which is not expected. The lower shots also looks very good coming out of this phone. Now in night mode it actually helps removing some of the noise, but I'm really very impressed at the shots coming out of this phone even without the night mode. But in night mode this thing becomes much more better. However, the Zeiss T-Star coated lens helps in terms of minimizing the flares and stuffs, so that's kind of bonus from other cameras, I mean smartphone cameras. Now in terms of video, you can shoot 4K videos up to 60 FPS, which is good, and the videos coming out of this are really very sharp, and I'm kind of impressed with the color reproduction of these videos. Now in terms of stabilization, I'm very much impressed at the stabilization. Now in terms of video, you can really get very stabilized footage coming out of this camera without using a gimbal or any other means of stabilization. That's kind of good. They have kind of introduced some cinematic mode in this mode. Now wait a second, this is not the iPhone cinematic style shots or something like that. They're actually switching to the cinematic aspect ratio, and there is some cinematic LUTs, which is kind of handy. I'm really liking that, but one thing it matches with the iPhone cinematic mode is that you can only shoot up to 1080p footage, so that's kind of deal breaker, but the LUTs are really good. I like that. So this is it. I would like to say that the camera is top class. I would like to give it a A+ grading. It does quite good, and it can actually overpass some other flagships out there. But there is some limitation. Of course, this is not the perfect camera setup for a smartphone, but still what Vivo has done with these cameras, I'm really very impressed. So this was the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you soon with new interesting videos. Till then, stay good, and keep doing incredible things. And yes, of course, keep watching until the week 2.